Hi everyone. Welcome back to the Performance Mentality Podcast. I'm Ken.
And I'm Ciara.
So in today's episode, we're going to break it down about our pathway, what we're asked to do, what are the requirements, and also talk about our day-to-day life and some of the experiences and opportunity that are presented to us. So let's get it started.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, as I said in the previous videos, I am doing a professional doctorate in sports and exercise psychology, and I'm doing it in University of Portsmouth. So in my experience, for a doctorate degree, I have to submit 4 case study. One of them can be professional practice, and I have to do 2 research paper. So it is basically that I have to finish. In terms of the actual practice, I have to log in about 450 or near 500 hours. So what about yours?
So mine's a little bit different with BASES, and just to sort of explain the BASES name rather than the Chartered Association of Sports and Exercise Science. So it's the same thing but just a different name. So changing the British to the Chartered. And on the CPAR route, we have to get over 2,700 hours.
Sorry to interrupt. So right now we're making this video in March,
Yeah.
and you told me earlier it will be changed
in April.
Yeah.
So that change has only happened, it's only been announced recently, but that's just a slight change. So if we talk about BASES to cases, then you know why. And yeah, so my sort of route is a lot more applied hours compared to as much research as you have to do. So you'll be looking at the laptop all the time, and like going through all
that is
the
how
literature.
every day reading papers. But the practice side is also very important. If you don't go out and practice, you basically have nothing to write.
Yeah.
Research, how I'm going to recruit people to do my research. So a lot of hours spent on researching, I would say. But compared to yours, so how many hours is it that you need?
So it's 900 direct hours, but in total 2,700 of sort of that involves the planning, so I can count hours towards planning, and I still have to do reflection. So a lot of the hours planning would be looking at books, listening to podcasts, for example, about planning what I'm presenting or planning the workshops I'm doing. So still a lot of hours sat down, but the main difference is how many applied hours I'd have to do compared to yours.
So your applied hours are basically double of mine. So for people, if you're willing to, for example, if you want to work in university, you want to have both sides open to you. For example, you want to work in university at some point, and you also want to practice at some point. Prof doc would be, for me, is a pretty good situation for me because I know a bit of that. So maybe I think it's better for me at the moment.
Yeah, and you get the fancy name of a doctor afterwards.
I think you do get.
We're not a doctor.
Oh,
no,
okay.
We'll still be a sports psychologist. So at the end of both our journeys, we'll both be chartered.
Okay.
And then you have to register with the HCPC to actually have a psychologist name, but you'll have a doctor before your name.
I think for Prof Doc, it's only the one from Liverpool, John Morris. They will only get the chartered title from BPS. Right. For Portsmouth, we don't get that.
Okay.
But except for cases, you will also get the chartered title from BPS as well.
After we register with HCPC, so the organisation that protects that title, that would have to do that. But that's a lot later down the line. We're both early on.
Yeah.
We're very much
second year for me.
Yeah, well, not even a year for me now, but it's very exciting nonetheless. So what sort of like day to day, how much research were you doing? What sort of teams are you working with? You want to explain that?
Yep. So since I am studying and researching at University of Portsmouth, of course, I will get a lot more support in terms of researching. So just to like tell people a little bit about the way that I learn and how I do the research, I want to talk about my supervisory team. I have about 3 supervisors. So one of the main one is for research and also for practice. And there are some of them are for statistic and for research support. So it is how it looks like. And wait, sorry, the question was about my day-to-day life. And also I get some opportunities from university. So it is how I got my opportunity to work with the university basketball team. So, and also because of the networking, that more people got exposed a little bit more to different university, different organizations. So I also work at the British Transplant Game. Aside from that, I also started my online platform. So things are going okay, I would say.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. You have to manage a lot of projects at one time, don't you?
Yeah.
You can't, every day is different as well. I mean, in my experience, some day I'll be spending all day planning, some day it's always reflection or catching up on the admin. It's so important. Like, I know for me, I have to track all my hours and do a breakdown for that. So sometimes you have to be very disciplined about catching up because it's not like university anymore, where your
Yeah.
lecturers would tell you what assignments you have and the deadlines. I know for me, I have to set my own deadlines, and if I don't keep on top of it, that's my own fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you find the same thing?
So I don't know about your supervisory like meeting looks like. So for me, we have folders that is kind of ready. We just have to put in the details and can send it to HCPC at some point down the line. So I don't know. Is it
Yeah,
something?
so we have a shared folder like on OneDrive when I have my main supervisor, but then we have the reviewers as well. So we have different deadlines, like the initial and the midpoint. That's not until like next year. So when the reviewers will look over all the work that you've done so far, just to make sure that you're actually progressing at the right rate and that you're doing the correct things, and you have to meet all the competencies. So there is structure in that sense, but they're not regular.
Okay.
So it's like at the end, it's not like a university deadline where you can get it done within a week. You've got to sort of keep on top of it. There's a lot of folders and files that we just have to maintain as well.
Okay. So everything you have to manage it by yourself.
Pretty much. I mean, I've got monthly meetings with my supervisor just to sort of update me. So that's quite good that I get the guidance, not completely alone and in the dark. But yeah, it was a big step compared to university to now sort of getting into the real world of working with teams, and it's just sort of finding our feet. I would say that's the right term for me. Yeah, it's good to have other people around you. I've definitely connected with people on LinkedIn. My supervisor, she also has got a group of 4 or 5 supervisees. So in their monthly meetings, we'll discuss what current situations we're in, getting advice from those. And then especially when we do like CPT courses at the BATES or cases now that they'll put on. So we need to complete a certain amount of sort of CPD workshops to make sure we meet those competencies. Like a range from ethics to reflections to sort of counselling techniques. So we have to meet all these bullet points as well. So that's helpful. And then you'll meet the community, all the other trainees. So we're all in the same position as well. It's just our journeys are slightly different and the amount of experience we're getting. But for me, being hands-on is definitely the right route for me.
Yeah. So should we talk a little bit the reason behind the reason why I choose to do prof doc and the reason why we want to do cases now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it was like I feel like I'm done with research at the minute. I much more want to get hands-on experience, which is why the cases sort of appealed for me a bit more in that sense. I knew I wanted to be an official like chartered sports psychologist, and this was a route that suited my needs. And then, as you said, you were more interested in, you're not sure quite yet, and you want to dip your foot into both research and practical.
Personally, I like to teach, but at the same time, I also want to get to the field, do the dirty work, actually spend time with the team, work around with athletes as well. But it was kind of inspired by my master project. It is just really, really initial. I want to do more out of it, take it to the next level. So it is the reason why I want to research. And I feel like if I can research, why not just go to university? So get more support from there. And yeah, get a fancy title as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's great now that if you want to become a sports psychologist, sport and exercise psychologist, there are 3 different routes. So for me, I'm doing the cases, you're doing the doctorate, and then the BPS was the original one. But a lot more people are going to these other routes because it just suits their needs better.
Yeah, you talk about the original one. So just to let the listener to know that for Prof Doc, it is relatively new, especially for SMUF. I think they started it about 8, 9 years ago. So relatively new. And what about for cases?
I'm not sure when it was originally, but yeah, I wouldn't say it was too far off from there.
I
I'd have to
think
double
for
check.
basis is that about 20 years ago? No, for BPS,
No.
sorry.
BPS, yeah, I'd have to look at the dates. Don't know off the
Mm.
top of my head.
Do you remember much about the requirement for BPS?
I mean, we took BPS it was accredited at our undergraduate or my undergraduate and postgrad. So if you did a sports psychologist, it had to be a BPS standard.
Yeah.
So if you have to go through those routes, it's like the core psychology part as well. That was all under there. So I could have done BPS if I wanted to, but you'd have to check your undergraduate degree and postgrad and actually see if it is authorised with them.
Yeah. I did hear some cases, like there's some people who study psychology elsewhere or is not BPS accredited, so they actually have to do conversion course.
Yeah, that's
before
quite common.
they
You definitely have to do your research into what course
Yeah.
you want to do and what route is best for you as well.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't just be limited. You have to be an open mind. Like for me, I don't want to close off the possibility of lecturing down the line or doing research because you can always get back into that field.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so I would say that's definitely a possibility, but not right now.
So should we talk a little bit about research? So for me, I can publish paper through Postmath. So for people, if they do cases, if at some point, do you know any ways for people down the line if they want to do it?
Yeah, I mean, you can find other people quite often on a paper. It's not just by one person. You need to go through the ethics, the getting approved as well, first of all, and it's a long process. Sometimes it can take years, can't it? Because you need to collect the data, you need to analyse it, and you then need to publish it. But first, it's about that approval. But yeah, I don't know too much about it, to be honest. I don't think it is limited just for ProvDoc or BPS.
Yeah.
You can get published in other ways.
Okay. Yeah, we will definitely update on it if we get a lot more experience in the future.
Yeah. Right now, we're both very new as well.
Yeah, 100%. I have not published any paper so far.
Maybe down the line.
Yeah, 100%. So, should we come back after break?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Hi, welcome back. So we're going to go through some of the pros and cons of what it actually takes to become a sports psychologist from our experience. So Karen, do you want to go through some of the challenges that you've had to overcome?
Yep. So the first one, let's talk about the big one. Let's talk about the money.
Not many people want to talk about that, do they?
It is a touchy topic. So from year one in my bachelor degree, year one, year two, year three, and then master, and then now second year of ProfDoc. So 7 years. So
Becoming a doctor, isn't it?
it is
in the medical field.
Yep, a lot of money. And for me, I would say I am lucky and financially privileged that my parents can support me for 80% of my journey so far.
That's nice.
It is really nice and really lucky. So I would say, based on my experience, it does take a lot of money from your parent and from your supportive system as well. Yeah, so do you want to talk about your...
Yeah, I mean, it's quite fortunate, but you've had the experience of coming overseas and doing so you're on it's a bit more expensive for you.
Yeah.
For your undergraduate. But for me, the government loans, especially in England, it does cover all of your fees, well, most of mine anyway, for my undergraduate and postgraduate. So university times, I didn't have to worry about it too much because I've got a lot of money in debt, but at the same time, you pay it back once you earn a certain amount. And even though I'm not there yet, you pay it back in really small increments. So I'm guessing that's a bit of a plus as well. But in terms of cases, there's no loan for that. So we have to support it. And that's why if you want it done in 2 years, you're going to have to be very financially well off. But for me, I'm doing it in 3 years, hopefully, with the potential to extend it 4 years if I can't get all the hours done. And a lot of trainees will have a part-time job. So I still work in hospitality a couple of days a week, just so I can afford my supervisor fee, which is £200 a month. But there are other supervisors that they vary rate to rate. So some of them are £100 a month, for example. So it's about just finding a supervisor that meets your needs and how they can assist you. So I had to do a lot of research in that. I've solely went for my supervisor because of the experience she had and how she can help me along the way. So I sort of, you have to weigh up as well. But for the cases, it's a lot cheaper than the BPS route as well, which is...
You talk about the registration
Yeah.
fees. Yeah.
Yeah, so actually the membership of that is just a little over £3,000, I think it is. So it's a lot better than I
Is
can't
it
remember
one
the
off the
BPS.
payment?
No, actually the good thing is you can break it down into monthly payments or yearly payments.
Okay.
So whatever suits you. For my supervisor, it's monthly, and then the bases or cases now, sorry, is I've chosen to do it yearly. So I'm quite fortunate that my nan is helping me along the way a little bit. But you can do it if you have a part-time job, which is why I can't do it full-time. As much as I'd love to do all of the experience, at the minute it's all of my opportunities are voluntary. So there's a lot of pros and cons in that. You're not getting paid for the experience, but you won't get any experience if you don't take the voluntary opportunities.
Yeah, so I would say it is another perks from doing a prof doc if money is a huge issue and if you still want to do it. So for university, obviously you can get student loan and yeah, basically you can get support from government and it would be good if you're a local student. And for prof doc, it is cheaper than master and also cheaper than bachelor. So I would say it's a little bit more affordable along the line. But at the same time, right now I'm also working full time, which is a non-sports psychology related job. So do you need to do something like kind of along the whole journey to support yourself, and having a good supportive system is really important to become a sports psychologist.
Yeah, but at the same time, like with your full-time job now that you've got, you're going to have long evenings as well, which means that you can't be as social as you once were.
Yeah, that is the next topic.
Yeah, that's the next point we want to discuss. So social life can take a hit in sometimes, occasionally, and you can't you have to sacrifice, or it's a choice at the end of the day. You actually need to put in all the hours, but we do want to emphasise, especially from other sports psychologists and sport and exercise psychologists I know of, it's a very worthwhile, rewarding process. At the end of it, you will be paid quite well at most jobs.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can become a supervisor, you can become a researcher. There's a whole lot of opportunities of what roles. So it's not a limited set of just becoming being part of a club. You can be a consultant. You can have your own consultancy. I mean, so you can have individual clients when you can bring in the money.
Yeah.
So it's very flexible.
Of course, as a trainee, it is a little bit more challenging for us because there's some kind of job they do need qualifications. So before you become a full psychologist, at the moment it's more likely to be part-time or potentially voluntary position. So it can be a struggle, but it is rewarding and the experiences are really valuable. One opportunity can lead to another one and another one. So
yeah, I
have
agree.
to be patient. Yeah.
Well, with one of my opportunities, I just started working with the academy team, and at the same club, I'm now working with the women's team. So that's given me another lot of experience, especially working with teenage boys compared to adult women.
Yeah.
So it's very different, but I feel like if you're exposed to as many opportunities in different sports now, like football to netball, there's a lot more differences. So it does expand your skill set, and yeah, I wouldn't change it, I don't think. Even though it's tough at times, it's definitely worthwhile.
Yeah. But do you want to share a little bit of your social life? So how does it look like? Do you go out much with friends, family now?
Yeah, well, I don't see my family as much because I've had to move from London to Portsmouth at the minute, and then I'm going to be moving back to London soon. But yeah, my little setback is I'm going to have surgery very soon for my knee, so I'll be out. But at the same time, even though that will impact my social life, not being able to, having to go through the recovery and whatnot, but yeah, you can do, rather than hands-on experience, sometimes you can do the remote experience as well. But in terms of social life, you have very unsociable hours, I would say. Because, for example, my training with the academy boys, sometimes it's 8:45 in the morning. And then I'll have the women's training at 7 p.m. So it's like two extremes, and it works around the needs of the athlete. So you do have to be very flexible. Sometimes you can't make plans until like a couple of days beforehand, because if you see that opportunity, I'd rather do that opportunity than counts towards my hours and builds the hours up a lot quicker. So yeah, it's definitely taken a hit in some sense, but it's very important. I try to get the balance. That's all about that, isn't it? So
Try
give
to
yourself
work
some
around the
off
schedule.
days.
Yeah.
It's not a 9 till 5.
No.
It's not
No,
the weekends off.
Can be quite unpredictable because it is sports. It's constantly changing. All of a sudden, a player got injured, need an extra session. Then obviously you need to deal with it as well. So yeah, there you go. Your social life. But for me, I'm living with my partner, so I'm really happy about it. She's my go-to for my mental health, my well-being as well.
Exactly, and that's another point. We might be the psychologist, but you need that support system.
Yeah.
Who's going to support you as well? So yeah, that's also very important. Keep your close ones close.
The next point, what is it about? It is about constantly moving.
Yes.
There is another challenge. Depends on your age, what you're looking for in your life. So I hear some people, they have to travel away from home for more than 200 days in a whole year.
Yeah, it can be done. It can be overcome. So for example, I know some sports psychologists, if you're working with a team, like they'll be going away for away games or something.
Yeah.
Or they'll be going on tour. So occasionally you have to go along with them. So if you do want to settle down at a young age, maybe you're more suited to lecturing or staying in one location or getting clients remotely.
So is that one of the reasons why you choose cases? You do like traveling around?
Exactly, yeah. I kind of want to do both. Like my aims are I want to be part of a team and travel with them, preferably at high level, but I know that takes time. Working with more amateur players at the minute, but everyone can aim high. It's like if you want to work with the top elite players, you need to work that up. And what is required is that sometimes you travel with them. But I knew I didn't want to do that 9 till 5 of just the same thing over and over. Like I like the unpredictability.
Yeah.
I like the demands that comes with sports.
Yeah, so it is good for the audience can pick and choose. So especially if you're aspiring sports psychologist, you're still in the decision making process, deciding which pathway you want to do. So if you want to kind of settle down for a little bit 60-70%, I would say Prof Doc is a good pathway because it's basically half the hours that I need to do compared to hers. And you also get the experience in research, so get you more opportunity to work at a university. But maybe it's not as appealing to a sports club because she will get much more experience than I do in terms of hands-on experiences.
Yeah, and it's sometimes a catch-22 when you need the experience to get the opportunity, but where do you first get it?
Yeah.
So you definitely need to rely on your network and approach clubs, which is always the difficult part, but 9 times out of 10 you'll get a no, but if that one yes, then it will lead you on to it. So you have to keep persevering to get that opportunity as well.
Should we move on to the final topic?
Yeah.
Which is about our personal philosophy, the way we practice. So it can be a little bit boring for audience if you are not a big psychology person. So there are different personal philosophy that we believe in. So it kind of guide the way we practice.
Yeah, what our values are.
Yeah, so what we think it is good for our clients. So there are CBT, ACT.
You've got the humanistic approach, you've got cognitive approach.
Yeah.
You have a lot of approaches, and sometimes you need to dip toe into each approach to sort of find out what one. So first we get told we need to reflect on what our values are and how they align with certain approaches and philosophies. We've learned about that since day one at university.
Yep.
So you'll get fed up with the word philosophy, but it definitely is a big part of how you conduct your practice. I mean, for me, I align with the humanistic approach, being person-centered, so having that more counselling approach, but at the same time, I can combine it with the cognitive approach about thoughts and
so it's
reframing.
eclectic.
Eclectic,
yeah. It is a big word.
Yeah, being eclectic, having that approach of adopting both methods. So that's where I'm at the minute, but you have to be open and you have to read around all the other approaches and to find out what works. Some practitioners only focus on one approach and that's all they'll do.
Yeah, to expand on what she said, so person-centered is basically whatever the client brings to her, and she's going to work around those. And humanistic is basically using the counseling technique. And for myself, I like to use single session approach. So I want to do everything like right now. Let's see what we can do from today and what you want to do in the near future. So it is called SSI CBT. So single session integrate CBT. So whatever you want to do, come to me and we work on it straight away. So and see if we need more session in the future. But I do like personally, I like to get things done right now, chop chop.
So yeah, that's definitely an ongoing journey and about developing and evolving our philosophy.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Enough for philosophy.
Yeah.
Enough for
we
today.
don't want to talk about that too much.
So please do in the comment section. So let us know what you guys want to hear about more being a sports psych, what we are exposed to. So
yeah, we'll definitely go through some of the different approaches about more specific cases within our experience and how we're evolving as a sports psychologist.
yeah. So see you in the next episode then.
See you later.